Hey there folks, I am the Mighty Plantain and this is it. We are finally brewing. Invested a couple $100 in the Northern Brewer homebrew kit. It's the deluxe one with a couple of carboys and some extra parts. We're doing the Fresh Squished IPA recipe. There were a couple of different recipe options. I went with an IPA, of course. So, a couple of things that the kit says to do to get ready, and this thing is supposed to be idiot proof, so here's hoping. I'm just, frankly, I'm really nervous I'm going to screw this up, but like I said, if it's idiot proof, then I should be able to do it. Probably do a couple of these kits, and then, depending on how comfortable I get with the process, start experimenting, doing some actual recipes instead of the pre-measured and pre-put together stuff here. So anyway, back to getting ready. Place a jug of liquid malt extract in warm water because that's going to help when pouring the malt into the boil later. I've got both of those resting in a warm wet water bath that isn't quite as warm as it was before. Got a couple of towels set aside just in case. And what was the second thing here? Install the spigot on the bottling bucket. We're not bottling today, of course, but this bottling bucket is going to be used for cleaning some stuff. And see here. And it talks about this process with the spigot, but I got it on there correctly. And with a tape measure, measure 15 inches up the side of the larger carboy, and that is approximately the 5-gallon point. So, marked that with a Sharpie. Prep a fermentation area. I've got a closet and a spare bedroom where this is going. Ideally, this is a location out of direct light with a steady temperature around 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, it's not winter yet, so I should be able to keep it around 68. Once winter hits, it's probably going to be around 60 because propane ain't cheap and we can deal with the cold here. So, okay. First step is to heat the water. If your water's good enough to drink, it's good enough for brewing. Well, it better be good enough to drink because there is an expensive water filter on there to get rid of the arsenic we found in the well. And a softener as well, so that's great. Fill the clean pot with 2.5 gallons of cool water. Place on the stove, uncovered, over medium heat. Okay, that's my brew kettle. I'm going to put 2.5 gallons in it. It's got a nice spigot for pouring on the front here. You're going to have to be very careful walking past that because it sticks out past the edge of the stove. This thermometer was a little bit extra. Installed that. I don't think we're going to need it for this particular brew because it doesn't talk about monitoring the temp of the boil or anything like that. So, I think we're good. We're going to put 2.5 gallons in it. Got my nice handy Galoon jug. Fruit fly or something in there. But the boil should kill any beer spoilers that go in through this water. So, 2.5 gallons. I am going to film the whole process. I'm probably going to edit and speed up some sections. You're going to see a frantic run when there are about 5 minutes left in the boil because the ice I'm going to use for the ice bath to cool this down is actually in a separate building across the way. We don't have a chest freezer here, and these stupid side-by-side fridges suck. There's not enough room in that freezer for a microwave pizza, much less 2 10-pound bags of ice, so. Alright. We're at the 2-gallon mark. Awesome. I'm sure they're precision items. I mean, they probably make and sell enough of them. Alright, that's 2.5 gallons. Place on the stove, uncovered over medium heat. We do have propane here, so that's going to be nice. Okay, so over a sink, pour the grains into the mesh bag. Tie a knot at the open end of the bag, leaving room for the grains to move freely. Steep the grain bag in the water while it heats. Set the timer for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, remove the grain bag from the pot. Hold the grain bag over the pot until it drains, but don't squeeze it. Discard the grain bag, then turn stove to high and heat uncovered. So, hopefully medium heat isn't going to be so hot that I burn my friggin' hand. But I'm definitely going to give it a test grab before I reach in there. I have a pair of tongs that I can use instead. So, oh, there's a little bit of sweetness to that. Alright, I better make sure I'm paying attention here because that's supposed to be heating. Alright, open end of the bag. We're going to dump these in, tie it up, and steep them. Lots of powder from those grains made its way into the sink, but I'm sure that's fine. Now it doesn't say I can reuse this, so I'm assuming that's not a good plan. "20 minutes. This is one of the sections that I'm probably going to speed up or skip. Doesn't say what's actually in here. Let's see if I can get prepped for the next step, which is basically boiling. So, honestly, not really. Because I got to bring the water to a boil after I'm done pulling the grain bag out. And then remove it from the heat. Yeah, that's 90 fucking degrees. I'm definitely using the tongs to get that bag out. Barbecue tongs, good enough. Keep reading the directions over and over again. Like I said, I'm paranoid I'm going to screw something up. Now, once that timer goes off, like I said before, we're going to pull the grain bag out, hold it over the pot until it drains, but don't squeeze it. Discard the bag, and then we're going to turn the stove to high and heat it uncovered. We're going to bring it to a boil, and then remove from the heat. And stir in 6 pounds of the gold malt syrup until it's dissolved. And that's going to give us the wort, an unfermented beer. Now typically you'd be using grains and all kinds of other actual grains to create that wort, and you'd probably have to strain it. after the boil, after the boil. But the syrup, concentrated syrup, makes it a lot quicker and easier, and you don't have to mess with all the grains. I do kind of feel like it's cheating in a way, but like I said, might as well get the basic steps down that way first before I really start experimenting. I don't know how much of this exposition I'm going to leave in here. I'll probably cut some of it because I'm sure you don't want to pay attention to it. Glue from something on the floor. Now, we're not going to cover it, but I'm going to use this to catch any drips from the grain bag. Crap. These are not going to do the trick, I don't think. Yeah, it says to drain it but not squeeze it, but unfortunately I have to squeeze it a little bit in order to actually maintain a grip on it. So, well, that's probably good enough, right? I'm actually going to leave that in the sink to cool off before I go throwing it in the trash. Alright, so it says now we go to a high heat, uncovered. We want to bring it to a boil and then pull it off the heat. Once we pull it off the heat, we're stirring in the 6 pounds of gold malt syrup until it's dissolved. That'll give us the wort. Then we're going to return the pot to the stove over the high heat again and resume boiling. We want to actively monitor for foam, reduce the heat or remove it from heat when the foam shows up because we want it to subside. But what we want is to adjust it to the point where we get a slow rolling boil without foam. And once that happens, when we get to the slow rolling boil, we're going to set a timer for 60 minutes and add a 1 ounce packet of nugget hops. We're going to keep an eye on foam and adjust the heat to maintain that rolling boil. And then when we get 15 minutes left in the boil, we're going to add 3.5 pounds of gold malt syrup. And then when we get down to 5 minutes remaining in the boil, we're going to add 1 ounce Citra and 2 ounce Mosaic hops. And then the 60 minutes, once the 60 minutes are gone, we're going to turn off the heat and cover the pot at that point. Okay. And it's when we turn off the heat and cover it that we want to transfer it to an ice water bath in the sink. So I think when I get down to this 15-minute mark left in the boil, and I add the 3.5 pounds of gold malt syrup, that's when once that's in there, that's when I'm going to run and grab the ice and set up the ice bath, because I'll have 10 minutes to do that before I have to take another step. I would do it ahead of time, but you know, with it boiling for an hour, that ice is just going to melt, and then my ice bath is Yeah, so hopefully that's a good plan. I think we're there. Now, come on, you. All right, now because I wasn't told to do so, I'm going to assume that introducing more water into the system in order to rinse out this thing is not a good plan. So, I didn't quite get everything out of here, but then again, I've lost about a gallon or half a gallon of water to the boil, so. Oh, we have wort now. Now I got to bring it back up to a boil, and who knows how long that's going to take. I mean, I knew this was a time-consuming process, but just the boiling of the water, I didn't realize that was going to take so long. High heat and resume boiling. So I got to get this boiled up, and once it's boiling, at a slow rolling boil with no foam, we set the timer for 60 minutes. And add in 1 ounce of nugget hops. See, I have a concern, because it said to stir in the syrup until it was dissolved. I was pretty sure it was dissolved, but now I'm seeing a lot of flecks coming up, which is also making me wonder if I didn't get it hot enough, if I didn't wait for a full enough boil. So now I'm starting to get paranoid that I already screwed it up. Too late now, so. Oh, that smells good. All right. So it turns out I have messed up. I was expecting a really big, rolling, bubbly boil, and so I let it boil a little too long. Maybe, because now I've got the boil I was expecting. Okay. Now I do nothing until there's 15 minutes remaining. And then I'll be adding the 3.5 pounds of gold malt syrup, and then running to get the ice for the ice bath. Okay. And then with 5 minutes remaining, 1 ounce Citra, 2 ounces of Mosaic. Took a couple minutes to get this opened up last time, so I think I'm going to get started on that now. Well, glad I started on it early. Alright, now we'll get the ice. Try not to make too much noise here, but the ice is basically frozen into one big block, so. Here comes the part where I wonder how long ago it stopped boiling. Probably about the time I added the syrup. And I get to spend some time being paranoid about whether or not I screwed up the boil again. But just like last time, there's nothing I can do about it at this point anyway, so. I think it's pretty close to the right level. If not, I can add more water in there because at the 5-minute mark, I have to add the hops. 1 ounce Citra and 2 ounce Mosaic. And then after the 60 minutes are completely up, I gotta turn off the heat, cover the pot, put it in the sink with cold water and ice up to the height of the wort, and then set a timer for 30 minutes. Now, while that 30 minutes is passing, I'm going to be setting up and decontaminating all this other stuff, because that's going to be the point at which you have to worry about spoilers, because you need the yeast in there to ferment, but you don't want bacteria or any foreign yeasts to be in there and cause problems for your beer. I think I just need to relax and realize it's not completely an exact science, and hopefully I didn't mess up the boil. If anything, I let the grains steep a little bit longer than they should have. We'll find out at the end of this whole thing. Until then, I just need to let it go. Alright, we're in the home stretch on this one. I should say on this step. Crap. I gotta use hot water to mix up the decontaminating, whatever, the wash for this stuff. So I'll have to take that out into the utility room to get hot water because we got the cold water bath going here. Right here. Are we at the right level? Yes, we are. Perfect. All right, so time to start this next setup. We're going to take the bottling bucket, 1 gallon of hot water, and 1 tablespoon of this cleanser. Stir it until it's dissolved. Okay. Hot water. I was supposed to set a timer for 30 minutes when that started cooling. So I'm going to set one now for 28. And hopefully a minute or two here or there isn't going to kill me. All right. Oh, for crying out loud, I think I'm being too exact on this. But hey. Pour some clean cleanser solution into the 6-gallon carboy. No. It's not quite fully dissolved yet. So. ice is freaking me out because every time it sounds like something's leaking. Okay, pour some cleanser into the 6-gallon carboy and carefully swirl it, ensuring contact with all inside surfaces for 2 to 3 minutes. All right. I don't want to go too crazy because I know I'm going to need plenty of this to soak some other stuff, but now all inside surfaces. This is going to be the tricky part. I'm sure there's a better technique to this. I'm also a little freaked out by the fact that it says not to rinse the cleanser off of anything that you put it on. I'm not used to not rinsing cleaners off of things. I don't know how long I've been doing this, but I'm pretty sure it's been 2 or 3 minutes yet. And I am paranoid I'm going to drop this friggin' thing. Also, I have my hand over the lid. I'm hoping that any part of my skin that's in contact with this is actually getting wet as well and decontaminating. So, I should have timed it better because I don't know if that was a full 2 to 3 minutes there, but I'm gonna go with it. Good thing I grabbed 2 towels, I guess. I gotta learn to do that somewhere else, or get better at putting my hand over the lid. All right, now pour it back in the bottling bucket. No need to rinse. Soak funnel. Now I'm gonna have to flip that over. Airlock. Let's make sure that gets filled. There's still some air in the airlock, so. carboy bung, scissors, and yeast pack. And we want to make sure that all surfaces are soaking. Which is why I said I'm going to have to take this funnel and flip it over at one point here. Ensuring contact with all surfaces. Okay. One gallon of cool water to the fermenter. When the timer goes off, remove the lid from the pot and pour the wort into the fermenter using the funnel. Top up with cool drinkable water until the wort level rises up to the 5-gallon mark on the fermenter. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I want to use some cleanser on anything I'm going to use to put that 1 gallon of cool water in there. So I'm going to do that. Somehow. Duh. Yeah, that was I was going for this. I'm kind of trying to pour it sideways, not all over the damn place. Alright, hopefully that's good enough. we've still got 15 minutes left on the cooling, so water's still cold, but the ice is gone. Pot feels cool. Alright, so how dry is this? If they say not to rinse, I'm assuming that the cleanser isn't going to hurt the yeast. This bad boy looks fairly dry. Now I am going to set it on the floor because that's going to be easier for the transfer. You might not be able to see it on the camera, but I'd rather not spill, so. Now it told me to get the blow-off tubing, but it doesn't appear as if I'm going to be doing any blow-off in this process. I'm going to decontaminate it when I'm done, though. I probably should have decontaminated the carboy dryer if I was going to use it. Too late now. Alright, 1 gallon of cool water. Okay. Now the front of my brew kettle does have a nice little spigot on it, but I'm going to dump it in here because the liquid shoots out of that spigot with some force and I don't want to be guessing where it's going to land and try to aim it for the funnel. I think before I do my next batch, I'm going to buy the attachment. It's a little nipple that you can put some tubing on and then just run that tubing directly down in there, because I think that's going to be a lot easier than trying to dump into a funnel. So. There's apparently a fill line on this airlock that I need to fill up right there. I need to fill it up to that fill line with the cleanser solution before I put it into the bung on the carboy. That's cool, I can do that. The yeast packet wants to float. That's alright. The surfaces are getting in contact with the cleanser. Dry enough. goes. Nine more minutes. So, timer goes off. We're taking the lid from the pot and we're pouring the wort into the fermenter using the funnel. And we're topping it off with cool drinkable water until the wort level rises up to the 5-gallon mark on the fermenter. Okay. We'll just slide it over and fill it with the faucet from the sink. It's very handy having that retractable sprayer for the faucet. I'll tell you that. Gonna need this, and I probably don't want it wet. Same thing for these. We'll wait because I have to leave solution inside that. So. I don't know if I'm being overly paranoid with the cleanser or not, but this is a kitchen, not a sterile lab environment, so. All right, here we go. Yeah, that's a little heavy, so. Yeah, I'm definitely getting that transfer tubing and the attachment for my next go around with this. I'm paranoid I'm going to dump it too fast, but it's also heavy. That can wait to be washed. Now we're going to put more water in there until it's up to the 5-gallon mark that I made earlier, or at least until the wort level is up, not all that foam that I just made by dumping it. Now, should I wait for the foam to settle so that I can... it's not going to overfill, I don't think. I'm going to rinse everything I can out of the foam. Don't want to lose all that hoppy deliciousness that went in there. Alright, two things are happening here. The instructions say to pitch the yeast on the surface of the wort. I don't want to pitch it into the foam because I don't think it's going to be effective that way. So I am going to give that some time to settle down. And maybe I can get started on cleaning the pot. This thing's too big for the sink. Oh, the crayon flat there. Now it says to use a cleanser on all of your equipment, but I'm pretty sure that they mean equipment, not your stock pot, because this doesn't necessarily need to be as sterile as everything else. The foam just isn't settling down. I probably can pitch it directly on top of the foam, but again, I think I'm just being extra careful and paranoid, and I'm probably gonna overthink it and mess up. I need cool water to go in here, so it's cooled off now. I'm going to see if they give me any advice about pitching the yeast in, whether it needs to be. I can't imagine that it's not okay to put it down on top of the foam, because honestly, there's no way to avoid the foam, right? And that's going to take forever to go down, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put it right in on top of the foam. And here I am worrying I'm going to mess this up again. So get this as close to that 5-gallon mark as I can. Yeah, because as I'm doing this, I'm actually making more foam, so it doesn't matter. I'll be waiting all damn night for that to go down. All right. Funnel out and get the cleanser like it says. Okay. 1.5 gallon mark on the fermenter. Now we cut open the yeast packet. Sprinkle the contents on the surface of the wort. Then we firmly insert the carboy bung into the neck. Fill that airlock with cleanser solution to the fill line. We are using dry ale yeast. Cephale OS09, something like that. Okay. Well, it looks like it's actually hit the surface of the wort, so that's good. I'm going to keep an eye on it and see if it sinks. Or, not sinks, but anyway. Firmly insert it. Yep, I'm pushing down firmly. Does it go all the way in? Alright, that's down as far as I can get it, so... Okay. Fill this to the fill line. There is a max fill line. It says max on both sides, so. Ah, crap. The second I try to dump any of it out, it all goes. Well, I'm not lucky. Alright, so this goes into the bung. Right like that, I guess. There we go. So I don't want to push it too hard because it looks like something that would break. Alright, the yeast appear to be resting on the surface, so that is a good thing. Alright, so clean up. Using your cleansing solution, wash all used equipment and allow to dry fully before storing. Do not use abrasive brushes that may scratch your equipment. Discard cleansing solution. So I'm going to clean up this stuff. I'm just going to use regular dish soap and water on the boil kettle because I don't think that's necessarily going to need to be decontaminated like the rest of this stuff. And I'm going to move the fermenter to the closet where it's going to go. So within 24 to 48 hours, we might start seeing bubbles in the airlock, or a thick foam may rise up from the surface of the wort. Well, we're already at the thick foam, but the yeast at least looks like it's actually on the surface of the liquid in there, so that's good. And normal part of the fermentation process. So after 7 days, I'm going to add another ounce of Citra and another ounce of Mosaic hops directly to the fermenter. And then we're going to allow another 7 days to complete. And then we're going to move on to bottling, which is a whole nother set of steps. But we have 2 weeks until that's happening. For me, for the purposes of this video, it's going to happen immediately afterwards. So I've got 2 weeks to fret and worry about whether or not I screwed up any step in this process, because it doesn't sound like I should have such a foamy head on this stuff already, but I do. So, there's that. Anyway, 2 weeks. 1 week to add the hops, 2 weeks until we bottle. Somehow I gotta come up with 48 empty beer bottles in the next 2 weeks, so I have to drink 48 beers. I'm just kidding. I've been saving Sam Adams bottles for months now in anticipation of actually doing this, so. Alright, so that foam I was initially worried about has settled down. We have new foam. This is actual Krausen forming as the yeast do their work down there. The lighting in here isn't that great because this is the coolest and darkest place I have in the house right now. Because we are having an unseasonably warm autumn. We'll see that this is actually sitting at about 80 degrees today. It should be fermenting at 68, so I'm a little concerned about that. But we can see here in the airlock, the yeast are doing their work. We're getting a bunch of carbon dioxide and hopefully yeast poop, otherwise known as alcohol, forming down here in the fermenter. Now, when I filled this airlock, there's a max fill line about halfway up on either side of those two chambers. And I had it filled to the max fill line on both sides, but all the liquid has actually migrated to that left side. So, hoping that's not a problem. I mean, it's really just there to keep stuff from getting in more than anything else, so we should be good. But, yeah. We're looking pretty good 2 days later. We got another 5 days to go before we open this up, dump some hops directly in, and then another 7 days after that before we bottle. Alright, so we're now on day 7, and I know the lighting in here could be a lot better, but we want to keep this in the dark somewhat. So, this has been sitting in the closet, like I mentioned before. Temperatures have continued to be a little bit higher than it should be fermenting at, but the yeast stayed active for the amount of time they were supposed to, and we're still getting some bubbles here and there, so I'm hoping that the temp was okay. But on day 7, I'm supposed to add 2 more ounces of hops. So essentially my first beer is actually one that requires a dry hopping, so that's cool. Oh, the smell. Those smell awesome. Alright, I'm going to try and do this with one hand, because pulling this bung out, I don't want to have it come in contact with any surface that could have microbes on it, because I'm not set up to cleanse or not sterilize, but decontaminate. That's how they put it. It might not be that big of a concern because the instructions didn't say to decontaminate all over again. So here's hoping. like I said, at the same time, uh-oh. I should have worried more about that. Those hops are not going in the brew now because they're on the floor. Maybe take a little bit more care when I pour these ones in. Alright, so we're going to come up a little bit short on the hops, but they're in there. And 7 days from now, we bottle. Alright, so it is now bottling day. I've done a couple of things to get ready. First thing I did was get 48 of these old Sam Adams bottles scrubbed out. And actually, 47 of them in one Lucky Buddha bottle. I don't know, maybe it'll bring me some luck, but in any case, I had 47 bottles due to a little incident with one. So those have all been scrubbed out and cleaned, and as part of the prep, they've been soaked in the cleansing solution that came with the kit. Quickly making sure all surfaces are covered, of course. Same thing for the bottle caps that you can't see because they're behind the fermenter here. The siphon and tubing that we're going to use, that's had some of the cleanser pumped through it. The bottle filler as well. The inside of the bottling bucket. So everything has been decontaminated to the point where it can be. Now, we're going to make the priming solution, which consists of corn sugar. This is actually going to give the yeast in there something to feed on while they're in the bottle, and that's going to help carbonate the brew. It's probably also going to cause more alcohol to be formed because it's going to ferment some more in the bottles. So we're going to have some debris in the bottom of these bottles when we drink them. Got to make sure to be careful of that. So we're going to take a small saucepan, mix the entire pack of priming sugar, which is 5 ounces of corn sugar, like I said, and 16 ounces of water. We're going to turn the stove to medium and heat the solution to a boil. Once it's boiling, we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. And when the timer goes off, turn off the stove, place the lid on the pan, and set the timer for 10 more minutes to give it time to cool. And when the timer goes off, we're pouring the solution into this bottling bucket. So I got to find a saucepan that's going to hold 16 ounces of water and the priming sugar. One with a lid as well. Go with this one. And the lid. It's right there. Perfect. All right. Always turn your handles in. Hey, 16 ounces of water. I can use my 1 gallon bucket here for that. that's a little bit more than I needed. I'm actually going to dump it into the dishwasher to drain. Because the sink here has the remainder of the cleansing solution in it, because that's where the final cleanup is supposed to happen. And yes, there's a lot of laundry going in the background. That shouldn't interfere too much with the noise in here. It shouldn't cause too much interference. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. One other prep step that I did take, they said to put this up in an elevated position so it'll drain into the bottling bucket about 30 minutes before you're ready to get started. And I'm pretty sure that 30 minutes is to give all the sediment in here time to settle. This surface, this countertop surface, was cleaned, and I got a feeling cleaning this carboy out is going to really suck. There is a lot of sediment in there. We'll have to take it outside and dump it on the edge of the woods or something. I wonder if that's any good for helping grass grow, because I got some bald spots on the lawn too. My wife would be mortified if she knew I had the dirty dishes in this shot, but I kind of covered them up a little bit. So, hopefully. Alright, another 10 minutes to cool, and then we put it in the bucket. After that, we're siphoning beer. Alright, priming solution is in, so the next thing we do is we're going to transfer. Alright, we're going to pull the bung out. Come on, you. It came out easy enough when I was putting the hops in. There we go. Oh, I can smell hops. So much hoppier. Oh, the hoppiness coming out of that thing. Alright, there. Now, this is the part I'm worried about. I don't think that the tubing is going to stay straight enough. There's not enough priming solution in there for it to really sit inside. So this could be somewhat of a disaster at first. Really need two hands on the siphon here. There we go. Now I can't see how far down I should put this because I don't think I want it resting in that sediment. I think I'm doing alright because I'm not seeing a lot of chunks coming through the tubing, so. Take a look at the lines on here. I should have roughly 5 gallons. Probably a little less. I believe that's the 5-gallon mark at the top there. Yep, 5. Whoops. I think I'm getting sediment. Might have let it go down a little too far. Now the good news is there's a spigot on the bottom of this bucket that sits just a little bit up from the bottom of the bucket. So if there is some sediment in there, if I let it settle for a minute or two, it shouldn't get into the bottles. Alright, now we're almost at the 5-gallon mark in the bucket, but there's still some liquid left in the fermenter. I think I'm going to drain as much of that liquid as I can. Worst case scenario, I've got a little bit left over and no bottle to put it in. Well, that's as good as it's going to get, I think. Alright. Good enough. I knew that was going to happen. I got some on the damn floor. It smells like a brewery in here. Okay, now let's try and tip this. Oh, yeah, that's not happening. Crap. Alright, this is going right in the sink. It's going to leave the cleanser with some beer in it, but we're going to give that a minute or two to settle before we start throwing the bottle, putting the bottles here. And alright, we're going to open the spigot and press the tip of the bottle filler on the bottom of the first bottle. We're going to fill the bottle to the top, which should leave about an inch of headspace in the neck of the bottle once the filler is taken out. When they're going to put a cap on top of the bottle and set it aside. And once we've got them all bottled, we're going to cap them. Right. Here we go. This is actually kind of exciting. All right. And we will do Lucky Buddha first, I guess. Boy, I should probably have this up a little higher too, I think. Yeah, I should definitely have this up higher because it's flowing really slow. It's filling incredibly slow. Huh. Well, maybe I need a shorter piece of tubing here. Oop. With the foam that's at the top. Okay, so. Ah, crap. It's going to try and fall on me. All right. I need a different system here. Okay, I think I've got this. Got the bucket up on a step stool now. I don't like this because it's not as steady as I would prefer, but with it being up a little higher, it's flowing better. I think if I just get that air bubble out of there, we might be in even better shape. There we go. That might do the trick. And I cleansed the surface of the table that the bottle caps are on. So we're good. I just got to make sure I don't pull on this tubing too much because, like I said, I don't like how the bucket is sitting on that step stool. It's not perfectly back. There's about an inch of overlap, but as long as nothing jostles it, it should stay there pretty good. Actually, I should probably have a towel under my feet in case any beer spills, but you know what? I'll just wipe it up afterwards. Yeah, there's going to be some drippage, so we'll be cleaning the floor. Yeah, see, now that we got the air bubbles out, I don't even have to hold this down as far as I thought I did. I'm still leaning down a little bit. It's a little uncomfortable in the back, so maybe I'll figure out some more permanent solution for elevating the bucket a little higher than it is now. I'm sure with a couple of 2x4s and a piece of plywood I could rig something up. Or just get like an old side table or something. Good thing there's 60 caps and 48 bottles. I am realizing why a lot of people like to have a second pair of hands when they're doing this, and I may be looking at that next time around. Alright, so the battery on the camera died, so you guys missed out on the rather riveting piece of cinema that was me filling the rest of those bottles. It wasn't that exciting, trust me. Made a little bit of a mess, spilled a little bit of beer. The bucket didn't come tumbling down though, that was my one concern. So now we're going to crimp these caps on. And I did come up 3 bottles short. They said to have 48 prepared. And there's still some beer in the bucket, but it's down below the level of the spigot. And when I looked at what was in there, there's some particulates and some sediment that's mixed back into it, so I think I'm just going to leave it and call it good. But next thing to do is to cap these bad boys off. Now we're going to center this on there, and oh, it's magnetic. And just give it a good Fair enough. That seems easy. Alright, I was going to do one other thing here. I can't remember what it was, so it couldn't have been that important. So. Oh, I was going to grab a towel to wipe them down before they go in the box. Yeah. Yeah, I can already see there's going to be some sediment in these no matter what. But I was warned about that in the recipe pack. So, actually, most of these are probably pretty dry on the outside. I don't want to go too crazy. Now, do I have to push down on this, or can I just... What the hell are you doing? I don't think I need to push down on it. Yeah, it'll do all the work itself without any pressure from me. So let's try to be smart about this. Yeah, I don't need to position it just right or press down on it because The capper actually does that for me. Awesome. This is it. Other than cleanup and letting the bottle condition for 2 weeks, which I'm loving because it's the one step in the whole process that I probably can't do anything to screw up. Yeah, bottle conditioning for 2 weeks in the closet again, which is now colder than it should be for the conditioning versus warmer than it should have been for the fermenting. And we'll see how that works out, but 2 weeks from now we'll crack one of these open and see how it turned out. Alright, so here we are. 2 weeks to carb, and a few hours in the fridge later. And we're going to check this out for the first time now. A little pop, that's good. It is not fizzing right up in the bottle though, so I'm a little worried about the carbonation, but got to make sure we're aware of the sediment in the bottom of this bottle. Oh my god, I'm getting ahead on this. Wow. Well, this is promising. I'm just now realizing that if this beer doesn't suck, then I've actually kind of started a thing with the Lucky Buddha bottle being the first one bottled and the first one opened. I did get some of the sediment. There's a couple of chunks floating in there. That's not too bad, though. I've had chunky beer before. Oh, it smells good and hoppy. It's got a slight metallic tang to it. I was getting that when it was in the carboy, the fermenter too. It's hazy, golden brown. Like I said, those chunks are in there. Somewhat effervescent still, so that's good. I think the lighting on this video is going to be pretty bad. I need to tweak some of these camera settings with the new camera. I'll have to play around with it sometime when I actually have a day to do nothing. Yeah, nice golden brown color, pretty effervescent, somewhat hazy, decent head that's sticking around. And a nice hoppy aroma with a slightly metallic tang to it, which isn't always a bad thing. All right. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. That saying has actually gotten bastardized and shortened over the years so that people just say the proof is in the pudding, which makes no sense when you think about the original. But anyway, we're going to find out how good this beer is. Smells good, looks good. It's got a bit of a medium light mouthfeel. Up front, it's got that tang. I mean, it's definitively an IPA. It's got a somewhat malty taste, maybe a little bit of smokiness to it. And then that fades to a bit of citrusy. There is some sourness to it too. Heavily citrus. I mean, Fresh Squished IPA. I'm sure it's supposed to be citrusy. Also, given the varieties of hops that were added. A little citrusy, and then it just fades to an overall hoppy bitterness in the finish. It's a decent beer. I mean, it's fucking beer. I made beer. I fucking made beer. And it doesn't suck. I'm like thrilled right now. This is awesome. I see why people keep doing this. I've been shopping for my next kit. I'm already looking at improvements. I'm probably going to upgrade to a carboy cleaner next. That's $150 for that thing, but holy shit, after trying to use the brush to get all the krausen off of it, that sucked, and it was a pain in the ass. If I can spend $150 to automate that process and make it better and not just easier on myself, but also that I can have more confidence that the cleaning is done properly, that's my next investment probably. I'm going to get another recipe kit. This is fucking cool. I made beer. I fucking made beer. And it's drinkable. My God. Anybody I've ever cooked dinner for will tell you that this is not how I expected this to turn out. I'm a horrible cook, but apparently I'm an adequate brewer. I mean, with the caveat that what I used was an idiot-proof kit, but, you know, it's a start. It's definitely a start. I'm doing this again. Will I put the next one on film? Yeah, depends on the response I get to this one. I can tell you one thing, I'll definitely be providing far fewer details, and I'll make sure I know based on my edits for this one, I'll know how much of the next one to film. Because honestly, I filmed the entire process from start to finish, even like an hour's worth of you just watching me stand around and pace around the kitchen, waiting for the shit to boil. I'm not going to leave that in the final cut, you'll see. But, yeah, pardon. I have no words. I successfully made beer, and it's drinkable, and it doesn't suck. This is the Northern Brewing Fresh Squished IPA recipe. I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. It's not quite blowing me away or impressing me in any way, shape, or form. It's a good, decent, adequate beer. It's an average IPA. Now, in this particular case, it's an average rating. It could be a better than average beer, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe I'm tempering my rating because I'm tempted to rate it higher because I fucking made it. But there's nothing in particular about this beer that is impressing me, but it is a nice average IPA. That's not necessarily a reflection on the recipe. It's probably just a reflection on how well I did putting it together. So, that's pretty much all I have to say. If you like what you saw, make sure to like and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I mostly do beer reviews, liquor reviews. Sometimes I get drunk, eat food, and review that. There's other assorted jackassery on the channel. And again, depending on the response to this video, there may be more actual brewing videos. I'm probably doing a couple more kits. I want to get comfortable and confident in my ability to follow the process. And then I'll probably start doing some branching out, some weirder shit. Trying to tweak things and make them my own. Maybe even create a recipe. I've got some weird ideas boiling around in the back of the spaghetti brain, so we'll see what happens. But, yeah. I fucking made beer. I made beer. I guess I'm technically a brewer now. I mean, you know, I know you guys who are doing this shit from scratch and coming up with your own stuff might not agree, but you know what? Technically, I brewed beer and I am a brewer. Just, you know, a home brewer, an amateur, a neophyte, if you will. I have fucked up so many things recently and failed. I needed this to work. I needed a win. I needed to actually do something and get it right. So, there you have it. All right. I'm going to go bask in smug self-satisfaction on my own. But thanks for tuning in, folks. Till next time. Cheers.